If you're over 70 and living in the UK, I need your attention right now. The free bus pass you've been using for years might be about to change in ways that could seriously affect your daily life. Before you click away, understand this. The decisions being made right now in council chambers across England could determine whether you'll still be able to visit your family, get to your doctor's appointments, or simply pop down to the shops without worrying about how much it's going to cost you. This isn't speculation or fear-mongering. These are real discussions happening at this very moment, and what happens next could change everything for millions of pensioners across the country. Welcome to UK Pension Insider, where we cut through the confusion and bring you the information that actually matters to your retirement. I'm here because too many channels ignore the issues that affect your daily life, the practical concerns that keep you up at night, the policy changes that land on your doorstep without warning. This channel exists for one reason: to keep you informed, prepared, and empowered when it comes to your pension, your benefits, and your rights as a senior citizen in the United Kingdom. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe because we're covering the stories that directly impact your financial security and quality of life in retirement. Now, let's talk about what's really happening with free bus travel in 2025, and more importantly, what it means for you. The year 2025 is shaping up to be a turning point for concessionary travel in England, and if you're someone who depends on that bus pass to get around, you need to understand exactly what's at stake. For nearly 2 decades, older people throughout England have enjoyed something precious: the ability to board a local bus without reaching for their wallet. This freedom has been more than just a convenience. It's been a lifeline that connects millions of pensioners to the world beyond their front doors. Let me paint you a picture of what this scheme has meant. Imagine you're 75 years old, and you gave up driving 3 years ago because your eyesight isn't what it used to be, and frankly, the cost of insurance and petrol became too much to bear on your state pension. Every Tuesday, you take the bus to visit your daughter and grandchildren across town. On Thursdays, you meet your friends at the community center for your weekly social group. On Friday mornings, you have a standing appointment at the surgery for your blood pressure checks. None of this requires planning around fares or worrying whether you have enough cash in your purse. You simply show your bus pass, take your seat, and go where you need to go. That's the reality that the concessionary travel scheme has provided since 2006, and it's a reality that might be about to change. The scheme as it currently stands allows anyone aged 60 or over to travel free on local bus services throughout England, but there's a catch that many people don't realize. You can only travel for free during off-peak hours, which typically means after 9:30 in the morning on weekdays and any time during weekends and public holidays. For the vast majority of older people, especially those over 70, this restriction hasn't been much of a problem because they're not commuting to work and they're happy to avoid the morning rush anyway. The system has worked remarkably well for millions of people, giving them independence, maintaining their social connections, and ensuring they can access essential services without the burden of transport costs eating into their already limited pension income. But here's where things get complicated, and this is where you need to pay very close attention. Local councils across England are facing a financial crisis of unprecedented proportions. The money they receive from central government hasn't kept pace with the rising costs of providing essential services, and they're being forced to make impossible choices about where to spend their shrinking budgets. Social care for the elderly and vulnerable is consuming ever larger portions of council budgets. Housing costs are spiraling. The demand for services is increasing while the resources to provide them are diminishing. Und right in the middle of dies finanziellen Druck sitzt das Konzessionsreisenschema. Here's something that might surprise you. Every time you use your free bus pass, your local council has to reimburse the bus company for the fare you would have paid. Across England, councils are collectively spending hundreds of millions of pounds every year to cover these costs. In some areas, the annual bill runs into tens of millions of pounds for a single council. When budgets are tight and difficult decisions must be made, it's perhaps inevitable that some councils are starting to look at the concessionary travel scheme and ask whether they can still afford to fund it in its current form. Throughout early 2025, several local authorities have announced reviews of their concessionary travel policies. Now, before you panic, let me be clear about something important. The national framework for free bus travel still exists, and it's not disappearing overnight. However, councils do have some flexibility in how they implement and manage these schemes within their local areas, and that flexibility is leading to variations in what's being proposed and what might actually happen. This is why the situation is so complex and why it's crucial that you understand what's being discussed in your particular area. Some councils are considering restricting the hours during which free travel is available even further than the current off-peak limitations. Instead of being able to travel free from 9:30 in the morning, proposals have been floated to push that start time back to 10 o'clock or even later. Other suggestions include ending free travel earlier in the evening, perhaps at 6 or 7 o'clock, rather than allowing it to continue until the last bus of the day. These might sound like small changes, but think about what they mean in practical terms. If you have a medical appointment at 9:45 in the morning, you might suddenly find yourself having to pay for that journey. If you want to attend an evening event or visit family for dinner, you could be facing bus fares both ways. Even more concerning are proposals to introduce charges for each journey, even if those charges are relatively small. The idea being discussed in some areas is to charge perhaps £1 or £2 per trip, which councils argue would help offset some of their costs while still providing a subsidized service that's cheaper than full-price fares. But here's the problem with that logic. For someone living on the basic state pension, which currently stands at just over £200 per week, even small charges add up frighteningly quickly. If you're taking 4 or 5 bus trips per week, suddenly you're looking at an additional expense of £8 to £10 every single week, which over a year amounts to more than £500. For many pensioners, that's simply not affordable, and it would force them to make heartbreaking choices between staying connected to their community and keeping food on the table. Perhaps the most significant change being discussed is linking eligibility for free bus travel to the state pension age, rather than keeping it at 60. This matters because the state pension age is not fixed. It's been rising steadily and is currently set at 66, with plans to increase it to 67 and potentially beyond in the coming years. If free bus passes become tied to the state pension age, it means fewer people would qualify, and those who do qualify would have to wait longer to receive this benefit. For people currently in their early 60s who've been counting on receiving their bus pass soon, this change could mean waiting several more years before they can access free travel. Now, let's focus specifically on people over 70, because this is the group that would be hit hardest by any of these changes. Data shows that people in their 70s and 80s are among the most frequent users of the concessionary travel scheme, and there are very good reasons for this. By the time someone reaches their 70s, there's a strong likelihood they've already given up driving. Some have voluntarily surrendered their licenses because they no longer feel safe behind the wheel due to declining eyesight, slower reaction times, or other age-related health issues. Others have been forced to stop driving because they simply cannot afford the escalating costs of vehicle maintenance, insurance, road tax, and fuel when living on a fixed pension income. For these individuals, public transport isn't just convenient, it's essential. It's often their only means of independent travel, and the free bus pass has been absolutely crucial in allowing them to maintain their autonomy and dignity in later life. Without free access to public transport, many people over 70 would face genuine social isolation. They wouldn't be able to afford regular bus fares to visit friends and family. They might miss important medical appointments because they couldn't justify the expense of getting there. Their shopping trips would become less frequent, potentially impacting their nutrition and health. Social activities and community engagement would diminish as the financial barrier to participation became too high. The cumulative effect would be older people becoming increasingly housebound, disconnected from their communities, and experiencing decline in both their mental and physical health. The impact of these potential changes wouldn't be felt equally across all areas or all groups of people, and that's an important point that often gets overlooked in these discussions. In rural areas, where bus services are already limited, infrequent, and sometimes barely viable, any further restrictions on free travel could be absolutely devastating. Older people living in villages and small towns often depend on just 1 or 2 bus services per day to reach nearby larger towns or cities where they can access shops, healthcare facilities, and social opportunities. If they suddenly had to pay for each of those journeys, many simply wouldn't be able to afford it. and they would become effectively trapped in their communities with no way to access services or maintain social connections beyond their immediate surroundings. In urban areas, the situation is different but no less serious. While bus services are generally more frequent and extensive in cities and large towns, the cost of making multiple journeys each week would still add up rapidly. A pensioner living in an urban area might need to take the bus several times a week for various appointments, shopping trips, and social activities. If each journey suddenly cost money, even just a pound or two, the weekly and monthly costs would quickly become unmanageable for someone living on the basic state pension. At UK Pension Insider, we're committed to keeping you updated on developments like these as they unfold. We'll continue to monitor what's happening with concessionary travel schemes across the country. We'll bring you updates as councils make decisions, and we'll provide you with the information you need to understand how these changes might affect you personally. This is exactly why this channel exists, to ensure you're never caught off guard by policy changes that impact your daily life and financial security. If you found this information valuable, please subscribe to UK Pension Insider so you don't miss future updates on this issue and other topics that matter to your retirement. Hit that notification bell to ensure you're alerted when we post new content. And if you know other pensioners who might benefit from this information, please share this video with them. The more people who are informed and engaged, the stronger our collective voice becomes when it comes to protecting the services and benefits that older people depend on. Thank you for watching, and remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and never underestimate the power of your voice in shaping the policies that affect your life. Ich sehe dich im nächsten Video.